What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Blitz Angle. My name is Ryan Linkletter, and I'm here with Dan Loya. Dan, how we doing tonight? Week 16 is concluded. Looks like we have our playoff picture for the 2025 season. What are your thoughts? What's the game you want to talk about first?
We can start off with that Sunday night game. Before we get started here, just shout out to the chat, shout out to all our viewers, whether you're watching live on Twitch, YouTube, or you're watching the next day. Watching live on Twitter and Twitch, or the next day on YouTube. Leave a comment, join the conversation. We appreciate your support. But yeah, let's get into it. I guess we can talk about Patriots Ravens since that game just ended. Big win for the Patriots on the road. The Ravens, it seems like time and time again, they're in these games and they blow a fourth quarter lead. Man, same story, different game. On the broadcast, they said at the time they have lost 11 games when leading by 7+ points in the fourth quarter. That number is now 12, and they just can't get out of their own way, man. And they have an opportunity to drive down the field and get into scoring position and possibly take a lead, but Zay Flowers is stripped, and that's the game, man. But a huge win for the Patriots. They looked good tonight, especially dealing with injuries along that defensive front. So the Patriots rebound after a loss to Buffalo last week, and they punched their ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought the Patriots were interesting throughout this game, right? They showed their signs of weaknesses, but I think one of the
Yeah,
more impressive parts is that they kind of showed that they can come from behind and win a game in the fourth quarter that wasn't pretty, right? We've seen New England this year haven't really, I don't want to say easy, but they've been playing in a lot of positive game scripts and haven't really been tested like I thought they were tonight, where they had to come back, claw their way back, and find a way to win all behind Drake May's arm. And they did that in this game. And I know Ramondre Stevenson broke off that long touchdown run to
yeah,
obviously give them the lead, but Drake May was the one that allowed them to come back in this game. And, he should have had that long, deep completion or at least a defensive pass interference. What I think New England does such a good job and Josh McDaniels does such a good job of is this team always has one-on-one matchups with their receivers, right? You see very few teams give them, looks to where they have two guys covered down the field or two guys over the field guarding guy. It is always Josh McDaniels isolating whoever it is, Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams, somebody on a one-on-one matchup, and that's where they've been so good because Drake May is incredibly accurate and has made these throws consistently this year. So Drake May was really good down the stretch tonight when they needed him to be, and he's the main reason they won. But the defense was the more impressive part for me. Uh, the big plays they made in the fourth quarter, the fumbles, right, specifically, that ultimately changed the course of this game. And I know we'll talk about Lamar here in a second, but Baltimore continues to find ways to lose these games in the fourth quarter where it feels like there's no way that Baltimore should lose this game. They're a great three-quarter team. In the fourth quarter, you have no clue what version of the Ravens you're going to get. And as talented as they are on both sides of the ball, in the playoff experience this team has had, they continue to fall short in these games where their winning percentage exceeds 80% late in the game. So I think with them, I'm looking at, potential coaching changes at this point. It's the same old problems and it's consistently happening, right? You can't get rid of a lot of this core. Lamar's going nowhere. He's still a great player, and I know he's having a down season, injury-filled season, but he's not the main problem with this. They continue to find ways to lose games in the fourth quarter, and it either needs to be Todd Munkin that's gone, John Harbaugh that's gone, right? Those two guys specifically have been some major parts of the problem. I think Zach Orr is probably the most likely to go just because the defense has been incredibly inconsistent, but Baltimore needs some changes because right? They're not a postseason team. They're just a bad football team. And they're similar to like the Chiefs and the Lions. Like they have a good I'm not going to say the Chiefs have a good roster, but we'll talk about that. But the Lions have a good roster. They came up short. They just seem to in these big moments this year
yeah,
not come up
injuries.
on the right side. So Baltimore's in the same boat. They're going to get in the offseason, retool, find ways to improve this roster, and I think make coaching changes. But this is great for New England because Denver lost. They're still in hopes of the one seed. I know Buffalo's still on their tails, but with a win next week, it looks like they'll be setting themselves up to win that division as far as that goes going forward. So I do want to talk about that Broncos Jaguars game. Dan, Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence has arrived. He is playing his best football of his career right now. He's
hmm
averaging over 3 touchdowns per game over the last 6 weeks, and they haven't lost during that stretch. He's the biggest thing. And I talked about this on the podcast before this is that I thought Jacksonville is a scary team now because of the performance of Trevor Lawrence. I wasn't super scared of Jacksonville middle of the season when they were going on this run, when they were 8-4, because Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing good and he was incredibly inconsistent. The addition of
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers has helped excel him, and he just looks much more comfortable in Liam Cohen's system. I think they're finding out what works well for Trevor, and they're putting him in good spots to succeed, and he's incredibly confident right now. A confident version of Trevor Lawrence is the one you're getting, and he's using his legs more than he ever has, and he's playing great football. Their defense is just above average unit. They rush the passer fine, right? They stop the run very well,
Run.
and they got a decent secondary. So like all that paired together, Jacksonville has a scary team, and they still have a hope for the 1 seed. And then Denver's side of things, like you saw what happened. Like their defense didn't play a perfect game today, and their offense inconsistencies were the reason that they didn't get the job done. So the same concerns with Denver arise for me, right? I mentioned they're kind of similar to that Jacksonville Jaguars team a few years back, right? With Jalen Ramsey and those guys, great defense. Bo Nick's a little better than Blake
Bortles.
Bortles, but I think that Denver's offensive inconsistencies and Bo Nick's inconsistencies in general, I mean, you saw multiple times like not throwing to open receivers. You got Pat Bryant injured today on some throws. He was
Yeah, late.
behind receivers today. Like it's every single week with Bo Nix, the inconsistencies, and it's taking away from an offensive line that is top 5 in the NFL in run block win rate and pass block win rate. They have a great offensive line. They have a great defense. If Bo Nix figures it out, Denver's scary. But if he doesn't, I have the same concerns with them. I think I'm going to have Jacksonville ahead of them in my next power rankings.
Yeah, dude, it's we talked about it on the Picks podcast. I think people were sleeping on Jacksonville. I don't know. There's a lot of talk this week. It just seemed like the national media didn't give Jacksonville respect. Don't know what it is. It's the Jacksonville name. It's the logo. We overlook them. I'm not sure, but I gave them their respect. You know, I've been watching their film. Liam Cohen's been dialing up, and I'm telling you, ever since Jacoby Myers got there, and that first game when the Jaguars played in Arizona. Trevor Lawrence had he threw 3 interceptions, but he also threw 3 touchdowns that game, and he looks sharp. And ever since, he's just been slowly ascending. So you know, just you look at it, they scored 25 plus points in 8 straight games now. Their offense is on fire. You know, you could say they're one of the hottest teams in the AFC right now, and they're peaking at the right time. You know, this is the time you want to get hot, and this they are, man. Their defense is very underrated. They're second in takeaways with you know, interceptions, and they're gritty, man. You know, there's not like big names. You know, they got Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker. You know, former first round pick. But like to the outside, you know, there's not many like marquee names. You know, but these guys are gritty, and like Devin Lloyd's one of the best middle linebackers in the league. Don't throw it over
That's
the
one of the
middle when
best
he's
pass
there.
coverage linebackers in football.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of people realize that, but the Jaguars defense is number one. Well, coming into this week, they were number one against the run, only allowing 89 yards per game. Dude, just they're a solid team in all 3 phases, and I'm impressed, dude. They go into Denver and they pick up a win against a real good Denver team. So it's scary for the rest of the AFC because they're looking really good right now. And like I said, I think they're the best team in the AFC. Just with Liam Cohen, man, he's gonna figure out your defense and like him and Trevor Lawrence are like this now. I don't know if you saw it, if you're able to catch it watching the game live, but it seemed like whenever the Jaguars went 3 and out to start the game, Trevor went right to Liam Cohen, and they're just like on the same page. Like, hey, what are you seeing? What do you think? And I think Liam Cohen has programmed his robot, and it's like an extension of him on the field. And it only took what maybe 10 games to do that, which is really impressive. So shout out to the Jaguars, man. They're dangerous. They could win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl, man. The way they're playing.
New
So
coaches this year are dominating.
I know, dude. Everywhere. Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Rabel. It's
Yep.
incredible, man.
Yep. What were your thoughts on the Broncos side of things and why they came up short?
Yeah, I think. Well, my thing with Denver is like when you start playing these good teams like Jacksonville, you got to be able to run the ball. And I mean, RJ Harvey's only getting 7 carries.
Well, yeah,
McLaughlin's
the interesting
5.
part, like they both Art Harvey and McLaughlin, 7 yards per carry,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah, it's
insane. Like,
just
why is Sean Payton so stubborn? He's got to get Bo Nix the
I know.
ball
Well, 40,
40 times a game.
47
It just
attempts.
doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're doing, but I think just in my opinion, yeah, like when you play these good teams, like you got to be able to run the football and stay consistent with it. And for some reason, Sean Payton's not. So you know, I don't really agree with that. But it was still a close game, and then eventually the Jaguars started to pull away later on in the game. Here, I can pull up the score here. Wasn't it tied? Yeah, it was tied 17-7 in the third. and then the Jaguars scored 21 and answered, and that was the game. So yeah, so in the first half, it was a battle. I mean, it was back and forth, high scoring game, lead changing. But yeah, once you get later on in these games, man, you got to establish your dominance, and the Broncos just couldn't. And I just think it was just a letdown after that Green Bay Packer game. And they also have a short week too. It's a tough turnaround. They got to play on Christmas. They got to travel to Kansas
That's a
City, and
bye
that's
week for
always
them. That's a bye week.
well, the
We'll
way
talk
Kansas
about that in
City
a
is
second. That's
looking.
a bye week for them.
But I'm saying that's gotta play a role, and I'm telling you, Sean Payton, like, just gave him whiteboard material, Jacksonville calling them a small market team. Maybe they're overlooking the Jaguars, and they paid the price today, so they learned their lesson the hard way, and, Denver's obviously gonna make the playoffs, but I do have my concerns with them. Their defense is strong, but without a consistent running game, I don't know how many playoff games you're gonna win.
I mean, they've won the same exact way 11 straight weeks, basically. Miracle wins,
Yeah,
like
it's all one-score games.
low percentage wins too. Like it's not like a one score game they're dominating. It's a dogfight one score game, coin toss
Yeah.
fourth quarter game, and they won every single one of those this year. So like Denver, that's a regression team that screams next year like they could fall off just a little bit, right? But this year specifically for the playoffs, I just don't think they're going to go on a run in large part due. I don't think they're a consistent football team. So we'll see. They could, the next 2 weeks turn some stuff around, be lights out on both sides of the ball, and maybe I change my mind and they get the 1 seed and you play through Mile High. But I don't
Yeah.
know with Denver. I don't love them. I don't love them much right now. One team that starting to grow on me just a little bit, just a tiny bit,
Where
Dan.
we at?
The
AFCN?
Chargers are growing on me. And you know why? The Chargers defense is really, really good.
That's good.
Their defense the last 3 weeks has been dominant, and they face some solid offenses, and they've found a way to limit their run game problems, which has been their biggest weakness on the defensive side of the ball. And since they got whooped by the Jaguars a few weeks back, they've just been significantly better. I have a ton of concerns still with the offensive line, but they did a great job running the football in this one, and it helps set up Justin Herbert having his best day in like 2 months. So like they looked really sharp today. They've won a lot of games ugly. This one was a convincing win, and you look at it now, they're in the playoffs, right? They're comfortable and they can start game planning for what they can do in the wild card. And this is a team that's been to the postseason and has that experience as well, with some other new teams mixed in there. So who knows? Maybe the Chargers can make a run. And on Dallas' side of things, like their secondary needs a complete rehaul. This team cannot guard
Yeah,
anybody
it
in the
got bad.
passing game.
Got bad quick.
It's so bad, but they paid Travion Diggs, they paid Deron Bland. Like those guys are not good. They're just not good corners, and they're getting
Mhm.
massive money to have mediocre play out there. And that was a big miss by Jerry Jones. A lot of people give him slack about the Micah Parsons trade. It wasn't as bad as people
Insane.
think, right? But the cornerback extensions, that was the big problem for me is you don't pay Micah Parsons and then you pay a cornerback who is hasn't been one of the most consistent guys in the league, had one monster year, $20 million. And this is what you're getting on the defensive side of the ball. Dallas has a great offense, right? I think Schottenheimer's done a really good job with that side of the ball, but defensively, like they have major holes they're going to have to fix heading into next year still.
Yeah, well, I think it could be. I'll start with the corner thing just off the top of my head. You're talking about like Diggs and Bland, right? You talking about those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking because Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator when those guys had a lot of success. That's a completely different scheme compared to Matt Eberflus. Dan Quinn runs cover three. Eberflus runs a lot of cover two, so it's completely different coverage. Different rules. So maybe they're just not comfortable. And I think another important factor to today's game was Quinn Williams was out.
Yeah.
He was limited because I think whenever we recorded the podcast Friday, he was limited, and I thought he was on track to play. He turned out he was ruled out earlier this morning, so that's a huge loss, man. You traded a first round pick for him. He's definitely made your defensive front better. That would have been a huge, you know, guy to have this week against the banged up Chargers offensive line. But without him, it just looked like the same old Cowboys, man. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. They're getting destroyed. I mean, Justin Herbert, man, he's still like under siege, but he's so incredible that like he doesn't care, man. He's like a Superman back there. He's running all over the place. He's making plays. He looks fantastic, and it's just unfortunate because man, that like you said, that defense is really good, and they play really well under Jesse Minter. But like eventually, that offensive line is just it's gonna catch up to them, man, and they're gonna lose in the playoffs. Like I can't see him making a run just because of their injuries. So if they were
Yeah.
at strength, they
I'm
they would
interested
be
to see the Denver
definitely
matchup. I want to
approaching.
see them in Denver go at it
Well,
week 18 for playoff positioning and see a little
Yeah, I don't
preview of
know.
what we could see in the postseason from the Chargers
It's
specifically.
it it'd probably be just like the Jacksonville game. Jacksonville whooped them up front, and I can see Denver doing that.
Mm,
Especially if the number
interesting.
1 seed's on the line. Yeah. It's dude, yeah, Denver's so fast, they're gonna get after you, and then Herbert just gonna be under siege, man. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
yeah, for him, and it's not his fault, man. He's got no time. Like, what did I put? The Chargers coming in were 2nd worst in the NFL. They're allowed 51 sacks this year. Like, you gotta keep your franchise quarterback upright, dude, and eventually it's gonna catch up to you.
Yeah, 100%. But team that struggled on defense too came back to bite them once again. The Lions, they're out of playoff contention basically. They got to hope for a miracle
Okay.
from the Green Bay Packers at this point. And we'll talk about everything in this game all the way to that call at the end. The Lions defense
Yeah.
is what the biggest reason they're not heading to the playoffs. Their offense started slow in this one and wasn't
Mhm.
consistent, but they picked it up in the second half and were really sharp. Jared Goff has been pretty good. I think the biggest concern for me long term on their offensive side of it is their offensive line, right? When their offensive line was really good this year, they were just like they were over the past few seasons, basically unstoppable. But their ground
Yeah.
game today, Dan, 11 carries for 16 yards from Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. That's something we never see from the Detroit Lions. And if they don't establish the run, they basically lost their identity. And that's where they kind of got behind the sticks on that route. But Jared Goff, I thought, played pretty well in this one and kept them in it and found a way. But I mean, their ground game regression this year has been in a large part due to that offensive line play. And they're going to have to find replacements in that group that are going to be more consistent options there. Obviously, you have Penny Sewell and Taylor Decker, who are a solid tackle tandem, but that interior offensive
Mhm.
line has been the major struggle for them. And then you flip the other side of the ball, their secondary sucks, man. Like they continuously allow these big games through the air. Like Rodgers, you look at the stats, like it was nothing crazy, but there were so many big plays, and they got gashed on the run today by Jalen Warren specifically.
Yeah,
Had a
that's
monster day there, and that's been their silver lining on defense is they have been able to stop the run, and they just allowed passing yards. So today it was a mix of everything, and you can't stop that. And Aaron Rodgers once again owns another NFC North opponent, and the play at the end too, like I personally didn't think it was an egregious push off to where it should have been called,
Mhm.
but you're sitting there and they put themselves in that situation to where
Yeah,
they
exactly.
were relying on that. Like they had goal to go, multiple plays to score, and they relied on that. And that's kind of why they lost. It was a crazy play. I believe that the call should not have been made and Jared Goff should have scored that, but now Detroit's sitting here and they're 8-7. They're not completely dead, but they're mostly dead. And it's
Yeah,
just a disappointing finish after losing Ben Johnson and now looking at the Chicago Bears, who probably are going to win the division now at this point. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, we can start at a lot of places. I think Dan Campbell, he always goes for it on 4th down. In the first quarter, they went for it on 4th and goal and didn't get it. They decided to gamble. They rolled snake eyes on that one. So they take just think if they take 3 points there, in the 4th quarter, they could have possibly won the game 30-29, but instead you're looking at it, it's what, 29-24. You need a
Yep.
touchdown to take the lead. So I don't know. I mean, that's just how Dan Campbell rolls, man. He's gonna live or die by gambling, and it continues to bite him. It seems like a lot this year. It bit him, against the Packers. When they go for it, didn't get it. They lost that game. So I just don't agree with it, man. Just take the points. It's the Steelers, man. They're tough. They made you. It's like the Lions weren't like having a lot of success moving the ball today. It was a dogfight, man. The Steelers were like really physical up front. They looked really well on both sides of the ball, and in this kind of game, just take the points, man. But they ended up losing by how many it was? What, 6, 7? So that's my main takeaway is they should have took the points in the first quarter. But I mean, if you look at the score, it was 10-3 going into halftime. I think the momentum swing was that Kenneth Gainwell, incredible. Like he kept the ball up.
That
Did you see
catch
that
was
highlight?
insane. Yeah.
Dude, that's what sparked the Steelers. They scored what, 19 unanswered? Yeah, they scored 19 unanswered since that point, and they just found a rhythm on offense. I think, like you mentioned, dude, they gashed them, and there were some explosive runs that the Lions could not stop. Warren had a long TD run, and I thought also Gainwell as well. So, yeah, that's my main takeaway, dude. Is just the Lions, rattled, ravished by injuries again for the second season in a row, and they just can't overcome them, man. They're just not untalented on both sides. You lose both coordinators. this past offseason, and it shows, man. They need somebody to get them over the hump, and they just can't. So I thought the Steelers, very impressive win. Their offense is on a roll now. They scored 27 plus 5 of the last 6 games, and they played just like I said earlier, physical on both sides of the ball. They were really pressuring Jared Goff today, and he was rattled in the pocket and it showed, dude. So huge win, man. Even without T.J. Watt, man, it's two impressive wins in a row, and they're starting to find some rhythm here on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, 100%. I think on Pittsburgh side of things, it's been Aaron Rodgers and his play that has elevated this team to another
Efficient.
level. Obviously, with the Baltimore loss, they're sitting in a great position now. But their play has directly increased their floor with how good Rodgers is playing. Like they don't have a great group of weapons, but if Aaron Rodgers turns back the clock like he has, the efficient quarterback play paired with their defense that is above average is good enough recipe for the Steelers team to win games. Do I think it wins them a Super Bowl? Absolutely not. They're not going to win a Super Bowl with this team, but I think Rodgers' play makes them frisky, and I think that they're going to be whoever the 5 seeds likely going to be Buffalo, and they're going to get Buffalo. That's going to be a tough matchup, but we saw Buffalo today play with Cleveland, and Buffalo
Absolutely.
seems to always be in these one-score games, and their defense continuously allows these big games on the ground and that type of stuff. So I think with Pittsburgh, they're getting better and they're playing their best football at the right time. And I think that's what's exciting about being a Steelers fan right now is that Pittsburgh has elevated their level of play and is playing like that now, which is encouraging compared to the last few years. It feels like every year the Steelers just go like that. But this year it seems like they're trending upward,
That's
which
true.
is a sign in the right direction. The other game that was big, the NFC South. Dan, I think the Buccaneers might just be a bad team at this point. They've always been like, all right, their passing game is going to figure it out. They got all these weapons back. I think Josh Grizzard and the scheme is just not good anymore. Been a big component of the ground game stinking because of that. I've been saying like Baker Mayfield, right? He'll figure it out when he gets his weapons heavy. He'll figure it out. But the offensive line's been bad. The play calling's been bad. And you saw it today. Like they lost on a miscommunication between Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. Everything for
Yep.
their offense. They have all the talent they need in that group. It's just not meshing right now, and they are not playing their best football. And their defense, like we mentioned the entire year, they're not good. And today they were okay, right? Bryce Young had to be a key reliant. I just don't understand this Panthers team. Like they have a good defense, they're consistent on that side of the ball, but Dave Canales just frustrates me as a coach. One game he's committed to the ground, the next game he throws the ball 45 times. The Carolina Panthers, if they are going to win games in the postseason, it is going to have to be through Rico Dowdle and
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard running the ball 30 times to the ground because once again, Bryce Young was not good in this one, but they found a way to win. And I do think he made some good plays in situations, but I also felt like we saw a lot of the same Bryce Young we've seen throughout this entire year, where he's just been bad at times and inconsistent and not like elevating this team to another level. So I think if Carolina, right, they have 8 wins, they're still not favored to win the division. Tampa Bay is still favored to win the division, which
Crazy.
is crazy. But
Because of Seattle. Nice. Okay.
yeah, so like I think with Carolina, they got to be able to run the football effectively, and they got to put themselves in a good chance for Bryce Young to go along for the ride instead of having Bryce Young drive the ship. For Tampa Bay, they have a fixed. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a potential coaching change for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next year. I know Todd Bowles has been taking this team to an NFC South championship for multiple years in a row, but Tampa Bay's been stuck in this mediocre 9-8, 10-7 records throughout these last few years, and they just haven't elevated their play. So with Tampa Bay, the alarms are set. I'm panicking with them, and they might not figure it out in time to make a run this year. And I think the Panthers would put up a better fight than them in the postseason if they made it.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I think what's I don't know. I'm trying to think of a saying for the Bucks. They're kind of just limping to the finish line here. They finally got everybody healthy. You think they're going to get over the hump, and they ended up losing this game. And I think the Panthers, they finally slayed the dragon here. The Panthers have lost 9 of their last 10 meetings coming into the game. Today's matchup against the Buccaneers, they finally get over that hump. Bryce Young, the story of the year, he can't throw over 210 yards. In these games, and even today he had 190. So he's thrown under 210 passing yards, 12 of 14 games now. So it's consistent, man. It's just he's gonna target one receiver and they're gonna try to run the ball, but he's gonna feed that run receiver. He's gonna have hopefully 1 or 2 touchdowns, and they're gonna win the game. And Bryce Young, he made plays when he needed to. It doesn't look pretty at times, but he's able to extend plays with his legs, and I thought he did that a lot today. So that was the difference, man. And Tedero McMillan's, I thought it's kind of cool because like coming out, I thought Tedero reminded me a lot of Mike Evans. So they're finally competing against each other, and Carolina's got their own Mike Evans with T Mac. So he
Ted's
played. He
Ted's
had
such a
incredible.
good player. Such a good
Yeah,
player.
dude. It was a great. Yeah, he's gonna be like a steady receiver for the Panthers for years to come. I think. But yeah, dude, it's just I think the Buccaneers. You look at Baker Mayfield. It's tough for him because it seems like every year he gets an offensive coordinator, head coaching job. Dave Canales was his OC a couple of seasons ago. He became head coach of Carolina, and then last year Liam Cohen's the OC. He's now the head coach in Jacksonville. So, it's tough. You got another offensive coordinator. You're banged up. You hurt your shoulder. You're dealing with a lot of injuries. It seems like your whole team's hurt this year, and you just can't put it together. And they had 10 days to prepare for this. They had an opportunity to win the game at the end. And Mike Evans, you're not on the same page as one of your premier wide receivers. Well, he's only appeared in 6 games this year, so it's
Yeah.
it's tough when you're not on the field. And Mike Evans, I don't know why he decided to break off that route. Baker, like, it's tough. He threw the ball before Mike Evans, like, even broke, or it might have been at the same time. Like, that's hard. So he didn't know he was going to do that. So it makes Baker look bad. But yeah, it's just tough, man. The Bucks have a lot of talent, and they definitely underachieved this year, and especially losing this game. It's a big loss, but I mean, you never know, man. It could come down to the final game still. So I mean, we keep saying this, but the Bucks could somehow get to the playoffs. Dude, it's crazy. But the Panthers win today, man, and impressive, man. They're
I
playing well.
think here's my take with the Panthers though, is I think they're in a worse situation now because they're winning these games and they might have to commit to Bryce Young for a longer period of
Mm.
time. And their draft position, like I was thinking about it while you're
Oh,
talking. I'm like, think heading into the draft next year, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson will likely have a higher draft pick than Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, which is insane to think about. And this team probably goes, let's say Carolina goes 8-9 at worst. They're probably like a 9-8 team or something like that, right? They're right around
yeah,
that range, right?
yeah,
So
against
let's say
seven.
they go around there. They're like, all right, we were just there. We're about to get in the playoffs, or we just got in the playoffs. Let's run it back with Bryce Young. And, they look at their draft capital that they have. It's not going to be great. And this team does need multiple fixes still on both sides of that ball and their quarterback, right? They're getting to that point where do we commit to Bryce Young? Do we not? And this is going to make it even harder for them because he's won some
Yeah.
games, even though it's been in spite of his performance. So I think Carolina is going to be in a very tough situation. I think their best bet is bringing in a veteran guy that's had success alongside Bryce Young because I do believe that defense is really good. They have more money to spend in free agency. They could be like one of the better defenses in football next year. I do think adding another wide receiver alongside Tet, maybe a tight end, would be great for this team. So I think Carolina's close, but I also feel like they still have a lot of holes, and obviously quarterback is one of them. So it would be interesting to kind of see how that works out in the draft heading into next year. The next two teams I want to talk about, Dan, the Buffalo Bills and the Texans got some big wins, but it wasn't easy at
Ugly.
times for both of them, right? James Cook once again carry job for Buffalo. He's been outstanding this year. 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, basically every game. Josh Allen kind of went along for the ride today. He had under 20 passing attempts in the win. And then on the other side of it, the Texans, their defense played big, but Ashton Genty had a monster game. Good for the Raiders. Finally got Genty going a lot, and they played hard in this one. What were your thoughts from Buffalo and Houston?
Yeah, dude, both ugly wins. I thought, the Buffalo Bills. Dude, there's something about the Browns this year. It's like you go to Cleveland, man, and they got some good fans up there. They always pack the stadium. It's just a tough place to play, and the Bills almost fell into their trap today. Shadur Sanders had an opportunity to, I believe, tie the game, or take the lead in the fourth quarter. He had his chance, man. It would have been all over freaking Twitter and social media if he would have
Trust
had
me,
a
I was
fourth quarter
waiting. I
drive. If
was
he
waiting. I was waiting.
dude, if he would have had that, if he would have finished that drive, but he went backwards, had an intentional grounding. He almost stepped out of bounds. Like Dan Orlovsky in the back of the end zone, and they couldn't move the ball. So that was that. But yeah, dude, James Cook. Raise your hand if you played James Cook in fantasy. I did, so I'm gonna take the L, unfortunately. But yeah, dude, James Cook's been awesome this year. So it's either Josh Allen goes off or James Cook, and that's the Buffalo Bills, man. So those two guys are really impressive. But Josh Allen, against the Browns, dude, he's only thrown one touchdown in his career. I remember telling you when we recorded the podcast, it's just weird, man. It's just something about the Browns, man. They're gritty and they're tough, and you just never know with that team. So the Bills found a way to win. They're continuing to stack these wins, and they have their sights on bigger things going into the postseason. Dude, the Texans, okay, switching over, they haven't looked good the past 2 weeks because I watched them definitely with the Cardinals, and then they played the Raiders this week. Yeah, they just haven't looked sharp. Not really sure what it is. The defense is kinda like ever since that Buffalo Bills game on Thursday night, they haven't really been getting after it, in my opinion. So something's going on there. I would have to, like, do a deep dive, but my initial reaction is, like, they're not the best team right now, I think, in their own division. I think Jacksonville's, like, getting really hot right now. So watch out for the Jaguars, but the Texans, they almost blew it, dude. Like CJ Stroud was missing throws. It didn't look good at all today till the fourth quarter when they finally like took a lead. I mean, their offense didn't score till what, the third? Let me pull it up real quick because they had a
Well,
pick
here's
six
the
to
thing, right?
Geno.
With Houston is that
One sec.
same thing with Denver. If their defense does not play like their defense is accustomed to, which is
Mhm.
elite levels, their
Yeah.
offenses can't fall in line. And Houston is more extreme than Denver on the offensive side of the ball. They're nowhere near as good of an offense as the Broncos, right? And you look at,
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's inconsistencies. They don't have a run game right now. Woody Marks is hurt. Joe Mixon's
Mhm.
obviously been out for the year. Like this team has a lot of holes offensively, and they're winning in spite of their offense. They have a great defense, and that'll always keep them in games, but they're not a good offense at all. And that's going to, allow a team like the Raiders to be in a
Yeah. Wrong.
game with you, right? And, allowing 21 points in the NFL is still a pretty good mark. That's definitely below average, right? But Houston's going to be in these games because they're a bad offense. Scoring 40 last week against the Cardinals was a fluke. That's not who the Texans are
Yeah. Yeah.
offensively.
Yeah, so
All
I'm
right.
looking at it. They didn't hang on. They didn't score the first touchdown until the fourth quarter on offense. They in the first quarter they had that pick six that
Yeah.
Geno's always been throwing this year. So yeah, they haven't looked good. They haven't looked sharp, man. These past 2 weeks. So look out for the Texans. I don't know who they got next, but
Chargers.
be
There'll
on
be
up
a nice
alert.
low scoring
Oh,
game there.
oh, jeez.
Nice low scoring game there. All right. Let's talk about the Chiefs and the Titans.
Oh, here we
Quick
go. Yeah,
hits,
it's
quick hits for these games. I think the most reasonable take from this game in general is that everybody that said the
Oregon.
coaching wasn't a problem was just dead wrong. Coaching is part of the problem as to why the Chiefs fail this year, and their roster just stinks. I mean, can we just be honest? Like, it was just bad.
Okay.
Like, you are playing the worst team in football in the Tennessee Titans, and they lost by 2 scores, and they didn't score a touchdown.
Titans.
I
Hey, the
mean,
Titans
that's
have been looking good. They had the fighting Cam Wards have been
let's
looking
let's
really
re
good.
let's stop using the word good so loosely. They've been looking better. Let's use that
They
word.
have.
They've been looking
Okay.
better. They've
Better.
been looking better. They haven't
They
been
they fight,
good.
man.
They've been
They fight.
well, the
Competitive.
Chiefs don't have much fight. Don't not much fight from the Chiefs. I
No,
will
no.
say, like, that's my biggest takeaway is that the Chiefs, they need new life, that offensive scheme, because the scheme is not
Mhm.
working. I mean, the biggest thing that, you notice is Malik Willis enters the game for the Green Bay Packers, right, against the Chicago Bears. They don't lose a beat, right? It's a great game plan. It's catered around the backup quarterback. They run the ball effectively, and they move the ball well against the Bears. Gardner Minshew comes in and Chris Lokadun both play. They have zero run game. There's zero easy throws.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
field goals. Like, that's coaching, Dan. Like, it's not like a crazy thing to say that the Hall of Fame coaching staff for the Chiefs has just been bad this year. That's not outrageous. You can hold everybody else accountable, but their coaching has been bad, and the roster talent that they've had this year kind of just showed. Like, this Chiefs team has been covered up for 3 seasons by Patrick Mahomes bailing them out in bigger moments, and it's been a downward trend in this roster, and they're just in need of a big reset. And I will say this, on the Titans side of things, Cam Ward is starting to figure it out. I think if they get the
Hey,
right guy there at head coach, with the schedule they'll have next season, I think that Tennessee could be a team we look at a lot like these teams that, broke out this year. Maybe Tennessee's that team that takes that big jump because Cam Ward, some of the throws, man, are just insane. And he's starting to play more within the pocket and not doing too much. Like he was incredibly efficient
Mhm.
and effective as well. They had more talent there. I think Tennessee could be a sleeper team heading into next year.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, and I think, yeah, dude. I just like Malik Willis has been in the system of Lafleur for 2 seasons now, 3 maybe. No, I think it's 2. But
Two, yeah, probably
But,
two.
like, Gardner Minshew, he gets injured, unfortunately, I think rumors are another ACL injury for a quarterback, so that's a tough blow. But, dude, yeah, I mean, when you can't run the ball, it's gonna be hard to move for an offense to operate. I don't care who you are. So they have to go back to the drawing board and, figure that run game out because it's not working and it doesn't look good right now in Kansas City. So, they're just gonna try to limp to the finish line, these last 2 games.
Tanking. I love it. Jeremiah Love, welcome to KC. All
I
right.
just
Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints, a similar type of quarterback situation. This will be a quick hit one. Tyler
Yeah.
Shuck, Dan, they're figuring it out. I think Kellen Moore was a great hire for them. It seems like they
Mhm.
have their quarterback in Tyler Shuck. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, dude, he looked good. He looked good today, and the thing I noticed, today that he wasn't dumping it off, man. I don't know what his, like, air yards per attempt are, but he was chucking it down the field, and he looks good, man. He's big, he's mobile. I know he struggles against the blitz according to stats, but I like what I see. And Kellen Moore's definitely like it's a new regime, and he's definitely building something there because they continue to fight hard and they're winning these games, man. I don't care who they're playing, they're winning. And it's tough to win in this league, so I'm impressed. Their defense played really well today against Brady Cook and the Jets. They had I think 7 sacks, a season high. They had an interception. So I was impressed on both sides of the ball, and Kellen Moore has looked sharp in his debut as a head coach, man. So shout out to them.
Yep. Shout out Kellen Moore. And then the final one, the
Yeah,
Bengals figured it out. Everybody that's
yeah,
like,
dude.
oh, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow's bad. Joe Burrow's bad. Just pump the brakes. They got
No,
all the talent in the world offensively. This might be the game, though, that Mike McDaniel lost his job with how bad they got destroyed in this one. It was that type of a blowout that who knows, might not be
maybe.
back next year. Quinn Ewers did not make much of a difference. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
So
I see. I don't know why they started him. They're paying Zach Wilson a lot of money. I think he would be pretty good in this offense, to be
I
honest.
think, yeah, but the
Not
thing
really
is though,
sure.
is like what you've seen what Zach Wilson is in other
So
systems.
they just want to see
You
Quinn
don't
Ewers.
know what Quinn Ewers is. Maybe he's like Tom Brady. I don't know. So they wanted to give him a chance. They wanted to give him a chance. Well, guys, listen, we really appreciate you making it to the end of the episode. Drop a comment down below your hottest take from week 16. Hit that subscribe button for more Blitz Angle content. And me and Dan, we'll catch you guys next time.